While I was on vacation this summer, my wife and I went out on an all day date for our wedding anniversary. We did our favorite thing. We went to antique malls to find books and obsess over furniture we can't buy and take home with us because we're 1,000 miles away and in a minivan. So we started at this place called Elizabeth, Illinois. It's got an awesome antique mall. I'll leave a link in the description. And it's a old like school, and it's huge. There's like 3.5 floors because like the it's not really the basement. It's like a split level thing off to the side. It's just great. There's so many things there to check out, and there's a room, and I'll post a picture in this video, and it's just all books. It's books 20 feet in the air, and so I was busy for a while there. We made the mistake, well, not the mistake of going, but it was hot that day. So by the time we were finished there, we were just done. And a fun thing about the drive there was we took very rural roads to get there. Google, I don't understand. They prioritize fuel efficiency now over time, which is fine, but sometimes they give you directions that are insane. We were going there and it wanted us to turn left onto this gravel road that looked like it was driving into a swamp. It was terrifying. It looked like somewhere you would get murdered. So we went another way, and instead we're climbing these huge rolling hills, and this is in northern Illinois, northwestern Illinois, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't believe that we got to drive through it. And a book I reviewed, Way Station, it takes place in Wisconsin, but it's right across the border. It's the same terrain, and to drive through a place that has been wonderfully described in a book I love, it was just such an enjoyable experience. I'm glad I wasn't the one driving so that I could just look out the windows and obsess over stuff. My wife did not want to be the one driving because of the rolling hills and those tiny little farm roads and stuff. But she also didn't want me to be the one driving. I'm not a reckless driver, but I am a sightseer. So that probably wouldn't have ended well for us. But anyways, yeah, we started in Elizabeth. And while we were there, I'll show you my books from there. It really good finds. I was super happy. Abraham Merritt's The Ship of Ishtar. I've read Burn Witch Burn, and I absolutely love it. It's got to be one of the best early 20th century horror novels written. And this is on Appendix N, and everyone highly recommends it. So I got a copy for $3. And this is not cheap on eBay anymore, unfortunately. While I don't like these little paperbacks because they seem to fall apart faster than the other ones, I'm not really going to be able to get this in another format unless I'm willing to invest a decent amount of money. So I was happy to get this. I'll be reading this soon. Then we got James Branch Cabell, The Silver Stallion, and this is part of the saga of Poitesme? I don't know how to say that. But it's got Figures of Earth, The Silver Stallion, Domine, The High Place, Something About Eve, The Cream of the Just. So, yeah, I can't wait to get to these. This is like OG romantic fantasy. Highly recommended by Michael Moorcock in Wizardry and Wild Romance. So, I think I'm 2 books away now from having all 5 or 6 or whatever, and we'll be getting to those soon. And I found both of those in the room of like all the books. And then we went upstairs, and I got A Century of Great Western Stories, edited with an introduction by John Jakes. And the cool thing about this is John Jakes wrote sword and sorcery fantasy before he got into historical fiction. And so I just think this is cool because he selected this stuff, and he does very good historical fiction. And I like Westerns, and a collection of short stories that's kind of curated by him with an introduction is amazing. If anyone doesn't know, John Jakes wrote the historical novels North and South. I remember them personally from the TV adaptation that had Patrick Swayze as a Southern beau and Kirstie Alley as a affluent daughter of a Northern family who gets kicked out of the family for being in an interracial marriage. And just it's wild. You want the embodiment of straight to TV like dramatizations of a novel? It's that in the 80s. Yeah, maybe dig into that if you're into that too. Our next stop was Galena, Illinois. And if you haven't been there, you should go. It's a tourist town, but it's wonderful. It's like a early to mid 1800s mining town settled by European immigrants, and it looks like a little slice of Europe just somehow in northwestern Illinois. It's awesome. And there's a lot of antique stores there. There's a lot of touristy trap places. Don't go there. And there's a coffee shop near the trolleys. Don't go there. It's not good. I'm not going to out them by name, but the main street, there's other coffee shops. I would go to one of them. Yeah, we get there, and the place we really wanted to go was first food because we were starving. Neither of us ate, and then we were in that hot antique store in Elizabeth, and we were on the third floor. And like after I picked up this book, we gave up. We're like, we're done. We just speed ran the rest of the floor, and then oh look, an intruder. We got there and we're starving, and there's this place called Dirty Gert's. It's a burger joint on the main street in Galena. It's very good. You should go there. I got a $5 Bloody Mary. It's awesome. Yeah, it hit the spot. Yeah, we got burgers, and then we went where we really wanted to go. In a book group I'm in on Facebook, one of the members mentioned Piece of the Past, Peace. And they have two shops. They have one on like both ends of the main street, and one of them is exclusively a bookstore, and the other one is where like all the other bookstore crap spills over to, and where they sell antiques and stuff. And so while I was there, I made a realization. August Derleth is a native of Wisconsin, and his books are very hard to find. And this is a Prairie Oak Press collection of his just general fiction, and I can't wait to dig into it. August Derleth was responsible for keeping Lovecraft's books alive after he passed away. He helped build some of the Cthulhu mythos. He was a part of Arkham House, the publisher that published a lot of really good horror fiction, and it was a small print in Wisconsin. And what I realized was the closer you are to Wisconsin, the easier it is to find books by August Derleth. There was a hardcover first edition that was in rough shape, and it was way too expensive, and it didn't have a dust jacket of one of his fiction novels. I almost picked it up, but it was just too expensive. But it was the first time I'd ever seen a hardcover first edition of one of his books. And I noticed there was August Derleth stuff at the antique mall too. Nothing I was interested in, and like I said, the condition was bad. But I just thought it was interesting that the closer I got to Wisconsin, the more August Derleth stuff I found. And we grabbed this, Before They Were Giants. This was printed by Paizo. And you may know Paizo as the company that produces Pathfinder and Starfinder, the tabletop RPGs. And they had a Planet Stories branch of the company, and it printed just old science fiction and fantasy. And I didn't know about this. I had no idea until I found this book in the wild at Piece of the Past. And so I had to pick it up. And it's Before They Were Giants. And if you look, here's Anthony, Greg Bear, Ben Bova, Cory Doctorow, William Gibson, Joe Haldeman, like all of these people. And it's the things they wrote before they were giants. And it's an awesome little piece of speculative fiction history. And I can't wait to get my hair out of my face and dig into it. This book, I just finished reading this book. I haven't made a review yet, but I had a trade paperback, and now I have a first edition hardcover. And I just cannot believe how good this book is. I already loved William Manchester because he wrote Arms of Krupp, but this thing is very good. We've got another hardcover first edition. As a book collector, once you own a bunch of books, as you can see behind me, you got to move on to the hard stuff. And the hard stuff is finding first edition hardcovers to flesh out your collection. And this, Dead Wake by Eric Larson. I'm really excited to get to this. I love Devil in White City. Isaac Storm is also amazing. So I can't wait to dig into another one of his books. And last but not least, all these were from Piece of the Past. The Fantastic Art of Boris Vallejo, or Vallejo. I don't know how he pronounces his name. Ooh, look at that. I didn't realize. Introduction by Lester Del Rey. Del Rey Science Fiction Publishing. I love his art. This classic fantasy art. Am I going to have to blur this cover? Maybe I shouldn't put it back in here. She's not naked, but now I'm paranoid. I don't want to blur things. Another little trip we did while we were there. I picked up this bad boy for $1. And I like Harvey Frommer. He wrote another baseball history book, and so I couldn't pass this up. And I think it's a first edition. It is. Of course it is. I've been getting real lucky lately. It was a wonderful trip with my wife. We got a lot of really cool books. We got to go to Galena, which is beautiful. And we had such a great experience driving there. Like, you wouldn't think driving through rural Illinois would be fun, but it's gorgeous. It was so wonderful to just see all these beautiful rolling hills, all these farms. I can't wait to do it again like I said in my other video, one of the great things about collecting, it's the journey, the finding them, the hunt, and just having a story for each book you own. Like I get to say all of these books I found on a wonderful wedding anniversary date with my wife. And it was such a good experience. Every time I look at one of these books, I will remember that. I think that's the lesson in this video is when you're on the hunt, make sure you make it fun. Don't obsess over the find. The hunt for cool books is what matters. The experiences you get while you're doing it. The things you learn when you pull a book off the shelf and you're like, I didn't know this existed. And then you whip out your phone or you sit down at your computer and you do a deep dive on things like I didn't know anything about August Derleth or Arkham House beyond I'd heard of Arkham House and I knew August Derleth from Appendix N and I'd read some of his short stories. And then to go somewhere and see a bunch of his books on the shelf and then realize, oh, it's because he's from Wisconsin. And the publisher that published that book is a local publisher in Wisconsin, where he was from. Just stuff like that. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the hunt, and I'll see you next time.